Hey guys, ReptileLair here, and today we got another video on setting up my brand new Pacman frog's enclosure. Now I'm really excited to add them to the ReptileLair, so with all that being said, let's get started. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to need for your Pacman frog is obviously going to be his enclosure. Now this enclosure I have here is actually surprisingly holds about 10 gallons of water, and the bin I used, if you can look here, there are some breathing holes in there, but it's always important to make sure your top is ventilated and screened out. Obviously so we can put some light in of UVB, and also more importantly so the Pacman frog can get some oxygen. Next we're going to need your substrate for the Pacman frog. What I'm using today is Eco-Earth. I highly recommend Eco-Earth, the brick form, as you can actually make the soil nice and moist with water, which is great. Underneath the substrate though, because I will be adding in real plants, some bio-drain hydro balls, and what this is going to do is create a drain layer for my plants. You're going to need some meshing to go over top of your hydro balls and in between the soil. And that's what this is here. So your soil doesn't actually sit on the hydro balls, it actually has a little screen layer to go through. And what I use here is actually just landscape fabric. You can get at any dollar store or hardware store. Scissors obviously to cut it. Now let's talk about some decor going inside. As it is a Pacman frog, it is unfortunately one of the easier amphibians I do own. With that being said, not too much is actually going in the enclosure, as they like to burrow and they like to eat anything that's going to be moving. So with that being said, a lot of people like to put fake plants or real plants in their enclosure. I will be using real plants here. We got a nerve plant and another plant here. I like to use real plants. I feel it brings a more natural terrarium to my animals, and also holds the humidity just a little bit better. Also that works with the hydro balls and the draining layer I'll be creating. Now this bag here, I'm only going to be using one little piece of this actually. And it's just some cocoa bark here, and I'm going to be putting it in a corner just so he has some sort of a little cave to go under. And most importantly for your Pacman frog, as I have a baby, water dish. The bigger he gets, the bigger the dish, obviously. Well, the bigger the enclosure. The enclosure, like I said, I am using is only temporarily for him as he's a baby, so within a month to a couple of months he will be changed into a proper glass 10-gallon tank. Another note on the plants: if you do get real plants for any reptile or amphibian, it's always good to want to take the plant out of its base, and you're going to want to give it a good soaking. The reason you're doing that is to get off any pesticides. It's nice to take all the soil off and get it down to the root, as we're going to be planting it into new soil. Let's start making this enclosure, guys. Now the first step, what we're going to be doing is going to be creating the draining layer for the enclosure. So you're going to want to take your hydro balls and you're going to want to give them a soaking just to get all the remaining clay and dust and debris off of them, and just so they're nice and humid prior going into the enclosure. So let's give them a soak. So these are the hydro balls I'm going to be putting in the enclosure. As you can see, there's not many. Like I said, it's just under a 10-gallon bin, but this is going to do a lot more than it looks. So let's give them a soak. Now we're going to apply the hydro balls now that they've been soaked. By the time this all spreads out, this is just going to create a minor drainage layer for two plants I have in the Pacman frog enclosure. Both of my vivariums have a drainage layer. Obviously there's a lot more hydro balls and a whole different approach of a drainage layer on that. This is just for a temporary Pacman frog setup. Next, we're just going to cut out a very small thin layer of landscape fabric. And like I said, this is going to be applied over the hydro balls and in between the Eco Earth substrate. So now we're going to cut up just a minor square. And then you're going to be back with something like this. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to fit the bin. So let's set this on top of the hydro balls. So now you're going to lay it on top of your hydro balls. Like I said, guys, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to fit, and perfect fit. So now we're gonna make up some Eco Earth. This comes with 3 bricks. It's about $10 Canadian. I'm only gonna be making up 1 brick today, but even so, I'm only gonna be probably using about half of it and using the rest for my plants and to touch up all the other enclosures in the reptile room. The Pacman frogs need about 2 to 3 inches of soil. Like I said, they like to burrow. So with all that being said, let's go make up some soil. And now we're gonna add our Eco Earth substrate to the enclosure. Like I said, I'm going to be adding about anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of soil. I'll show you a better view of the bin once the soil is actually applied. So I'm probably only going to leave about this much soil. Actually, you know what? We'll top it a little bit. You want your soil also to be fluffy as he's going to be burrowing. You don't want to keep it too padded down. And we're going to add a little bit more. You know, I'll add the rest of the container. There you go, guys. That's how much soil we're going to add. That's actually about 3 inches there. And as you guys can see, the substrate is applied. It's about 3 inches from the bottom. And now we're going to add some plants in. So now we're going to take our plants and we're just going to clean them off. So we're going to take them out of their trays and we're going to try and get all the previous soil, pesticides, and fertilizer off of it. So this one's already faintly pretty easy. You can see the roots there. We're just going to soak the soil off as so. And try and get as much of it off as you can until you have something like this. We'll just leave this guy right here. And for the next plant, the nerve plant. So this soil is a little bit more dry, so we're gonna have to soak it a little bit before even breaking it. So we're gonna have to keep soaking it and try and take as much off in the water as you can. Again, till you have something kind of like this. It's okay if you have a little bit of the old soil still on your plant. Like I said, with how much substrate you have in your enclosure, you're gonna dominate that soil and you're gonna cover it completely. You just wanna try and get all the white fertilizer, as you see in here, off, all the pesticide and everything like that. We just don't want the frog to ingest anything that was chemically from a hardware store. So now you're gonna start applying your plants. What I normally do is try and prep where I'm gonna be putting everything prior to putting everything in. So first we're going to start with this guy. So let's put him in now. And you just want to fill your plant in. Kind of give it a little pat down around your plant, just so you don't want it to come out or loose. Like so. So I'm actually going to add in this pothos cutting I have. I'm going to try and tuck it in this corner with this little cocoa husk I have here. And the plan is, this is going to be the front side. I'm hoping to run the pothos up the back of that and see if it will kind of do its thing over it. So let's try that. So now let's try and put that cocoa hut against the pothos. Okay, so I think I like that. I'll let you guys see what I see. So it's gonna look something like this. Underneath the pothos, I don't know if you guys can notice, but there is this little cocoa piece here, and it's gonna just make like a little cave. So guys, as I was filming, unfortunately, my SD card got full. And that was just before I planted the nerve plant here. But as you can see, it's all planted in his enclosure on the opposite side of the other plants and the pothos. I also added in his water dish here. It's a corner dish. It's about 1/2 inch deep, as you can see with my finger. So with these two in here, now we're gonna add him into his enclosure. So this is the Pacman frog here. As you can see, he's still a baby, only a couple months old. Let's add him to his enclosure now. So now we're just gonna take him out of the portable cup he came in. Now I don't usually recommend handling your amphibians as they breathe in through their skin. Make sure your hands are washed previous to doing this. But there he is, guys, in his new home. I think he's gonna love it. Like I said, this is about a 10-gallon bin here. We got 3 real planted plants in here to bring out humidity. We got 3 inches of substrate. We got hydro balls. It is basically a vivarium. There he is already getting a soak. Your ending result is gonna be a happy, safe Pacman frog. Thanks guys for watching the video. I hope you guys liked me setting up my brand new Pacman frogs enclosure. Like I said, really happy about adding them to the ReptileLair. If you liked what you've seen, don't forget to like and subscribe to ReptileLair here. Don't forget to check out all my other videos, which will be displayed around somewhere here. Keep up with the channel, guys, on future videos. Until next time, ReptileLair.